Sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi. The popularity of fermented foods like these has been on the rise due to their gut health benefits. But are they safe during pregnancy when bacteria such as listeria is a real threat? Well, today on Nourish, I've dug deep into the science to look at fermented foods during pregnancy and whether you should be eating them or avoiding them. Stay tuned to hear what I found. Fermented foods during pregnancy. Are they safe? Should I be eating them? This is a question that I get from a lot of my pregnant mamas, and unfortunately, it's not a black and white answer. So I'm going to give you the opinions on both sides of the fence so that you can make up your own mind, and then I'll tell you what I think. Firstly, why some people say you should avoid fermented foods. Now, we know that our immune systems decrease during pregnancy. That's why pregnant mamas have a higher risk of listeriosis than most women in the general community. Now, remember that listeria is found on most foods and grows at a room temperature environment. Listeria is only killed when heated to over 65 degrees Celsius or 150 degrees Fahrenheit, although growth is slowed when foods are refrigerated. Now, the fermentation process occurs when foods are left at room temperature overnight or even for days or weeks, depending upon the recipe that you're following. This is done purposefully so that the good probiotic bacteria can grow. But along with increasing the prevalence of that good bacteria, there's always a risk that you might be increasing the prevalence of bad bacteria too. And as we said, our immune systems decrease during pregnancy, so you could be putting yourself at risk of listeriosis or other types of food poisoning. So why would you risk listeriosis by eating fermented foods during pregnancy? Well, others argue that women have been eating fermented foods during pregnancy for thousands of years. They argue that women shouldn't be avoiding the health benefits of fermented foods, particularly during pregnancy when gut health is so important. And they argue that the benefits of fermented foods during pregnancy, such as decreasing the risk of eczema in your baby, outweigh the relatively small risk of food poisoning and listeriosis. So, my opinion. I believe that if you don't usually eat fermented foods, then I personally wouldn't recommend starting during pregnancy. I feel that the risk of getting a bacterial infection is too great during pregnancy, and there's other ways to optimize your gut microbiome. Instead, I'd recommend eating plenty of prebiotic foods. That's foods that feed our good gut bacteria already living in our guts. So foods like bananas, pasta, and onion. And you might also like to take a pregnancy probiotic capsule that contains only researched strains of good pregnancy microbes. However, if you're someone who does usually eat a particular type of fermented food and your body is used to the microbes from it, then I do believe that it's safe to continue. Now, if you are going to consume fermented foods during pregnancy, just check how it's made. For example, food safety authorities warn against consuming unpasteurized milk because it naturally contains a range of both good and bad bacteria. So some brands of kefir, for example, which is a type of fermented milk, might be made from unpasteurized milk, so it might not be the wisest choice. Choose brands with trustworthy hygiene practices and strict safety testing. Now, if you're not yet pregnant, I'd recommend getting into fermented foods now while your immune system is stronger. in the lead up to conception is a great time to be optimizing your gut microbiome. And one study found that women who ate more fermented foods in the lead up to pregnancy had a reduced risk of preterm birth. Let me know what you decide to do in the comments box below, and make sure that you subscribe so that you receive my weekly videos. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Pick one. Sorry. Okay, take two.